All right, so yeah, today's April 17th, 2025, and we're going to be going through some advanced Excel skills today. As you can see, I have an Excel sheet up here, and this is a basic sheet that you might see if you worked at any large company that has like a database with all of their customers in it. You might have some things like their customer ID. So this is what we would call as a unique identifier. So a unique identifier means that there's only one row in the database that has like the number. There can only be one customer six. Does that make sense? So you would never have five customers whose customer ID is number six. There's only going to be one person assigned to that customer ID. So when you work in like with computers, oftentimes, especially in the sales, they say, well, what's the customer ID? Well, that's a unique identifier for a specific customer. Some of these other things may or may not be a unique identifier. Obviously, name probably is not. Email is probably going to be a unique identifier. So that would be something that would be unique for each individual customer that you have. You probably aren't going to have, and maybe you do. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Depends on the company. But companies, when they set up their databases, they can make email a unique identifier, or they can not, and they can just say, "Hey, yeah, we could have multiple customer IDs that have the same email." That's completely possible. Just depends on how the company sets up their database. Obviously, a male or female is not a unique identifier. Um, but it is binary, meaning that it's like a one or a two, right? So it's true or it's false. It's male or female is yes or no. So when I say binary, that's what we mean when we say that a column is binary. So that would be a binary one there. We have currency here, and we have sum of orders. So this column here has the total of orders for each customer ID. And then we have some made up addresses that I just threw in there. So we're just going to take today and we're going to do some analysis. I'm going to show you guys some advanced things I think that you'll enjoy. And then we'll go from there. So let me just peek at what I've got in some of these other ones. I'm just going to delete this one and I'm going to delete this one. So first of all, we want to organize our tabs down here. So we have two tabs down here. So you can have multiple tabs, also known as worksheets in Excel. So sheet four has all the like information about the customer, their sex, their address, how many orders they had, etc. And then sheet two here has the actual name of the customer and their email address. And So this is very common that you have, and we talked about this in our SQL class. It's very common that you have different databases at a same company that have different information. So let's say that this one here, I'm going to right click and insert. Let's say that this one here is customer orders. So you could have ran a query, for instance, to get all of the customers' orders by customer order ID here. And then over here, this one, and I'm going to add two rows. So to add two rows at the top, you can just highlight row one and two, and then right click on the one and hit insert, and it's going to insert two rows because I highlighted two rows. So let's do it again. I'm going to delete these two. If I wanted to insert 10 rows, I would highlight 10, right click, hit insert. And when I hit insert, it's going to insert the number of rows that I highlighted. So watch this. See there? And I added 10 empty rows. Okay, so that's like a nice little trick to use. It does the same thing on the column width. So if I highlighted three columns and I hit insert, it's going to insert three columns, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete those three. And I'm going to delete these at the top. And I'm going to call this one just customer profiles. So let's say this table only has the customer IDs, the name, and the email. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to rename this table, or this spreadsheet rather. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to rename this one profiles. And then on sheet 4, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to rename it orders. So why do we do that first of all? Because it's going to just help you stay organized. We only have two here, but it helps you remember, okay, this one's going to have the profiles, this one's orders. If you were working on a larger spreadsheet, you might have 10, 20, even 30 different tabs down here. So it becomes really important to give them names. And then something I do sometimes, if there's related tabs, I might give them colors. So like green might, reference one thing and yellow might reference something else. So that can also help you quickly identify which tab has what in it so that you know you're working with the right data. Okay. So one of the first things I want to show you guys is a VLookup. So a VLookup is useful when you have something, let's say that you have this data, um, and you have orders, you have customer IDs, you have some information about the customers, their address. But then someone says, hey, on that report about all of our customers' orders, can you actually insert a column? Let's say you didn't have it here. Can you insert a column that has the name of the customer and their email address? Because they want to be able to understand not just like, oh, the customer ID is this. This probably doesn't mean anything. Um, but imagine that you're a small business and you probably know all your customers. Let's say you have, 50 customers. You probably do know all their names off the top of your head, but you may not know their customer ID off the top of your head. So you say, hey, let's add two columns. I'm going to insert here. You have to add two empty columns first. And let's say we're going to bring over name and email. Now, where's name and email? We have, again, so we have customer ID here. Have customer ID here, but over the name and email that corresponds to this customer ID. And we want to do it automated. Right? We don't want to have to, could we could go, okay, Eric is customer ID 1. Let's come here and we're going to copy. I did Control C. So you did one way you could do it. You could highlight like, okay, name and then I'm going to come back over here to orders, and then I'm going to pay. So you could do that, but you're going to, if you're working with 100 or even 50, like, do you really want to do copy paste 50 times? No, you don't. So we need a way to bring these two columns over automatically, and we need it to be accurate, right? Because these aren't in order over here. And so we need a formula that will say, oh, customer ID 6, here's the name and here's the email, and it'll bring it over. So we're going to do what we call a VLookup. And a VLookup is how I'm going to be able to bring the name and email, these two columns over to here, and it's going to do it. It's going to where we want the first entry to pull. So right here, we have name for customer 6. So I'm going to start with a equals, and I'm going to write VLookup. Again, don't worry too much about the particulars. I really just want you guys to understand that what this does in general. You can always come back to the video. And then I'm going to do open parentheses, and it's giving me right here kind of a code of what it expects to do. So I wanted to say, I wanted to go look up customer ID 6. So I click that and it puts A4. Then I'm going to do a comma. Then I need to tell it where is the information that relates to that. So I'm going to go back to the profiles and I'm going to say, I want you to look at all of these customer IDs, and then I want you to bring over these columns. So I'm just highlighting where's all the information at that I want it to relate. So I've selected all of that. Notice that this is the column that relates to the other tab. And then this is column 2. This is column 3. So that's going to be important. So I'm going to hit comma 2 to tell it that I want it to bring over row or column 2 with name. And then I'm going to hit false because I want it to be exact. So where customer ID one in one table equals customer ID one in the other, I want it to be exact and I want it to then bring it over. So then I hit enter and it brought over the name Tim. So let's go back and look. So is customer ID 6 Tim? It is. And then his Gmail is this one um, here. So let's write another formula for that. I'm going to do the same thing, equals VLookup, open parentheses. I want to click where his customer ID is. Then I'm going to go to where the data is, highlight it. I'm going to hit comma 3 this time because I want to bring over column 3, which is email, and then false. And again, why false? Because I want it to be an exact match between the customer ID. So where customer ID equals 6 in this table, and it also equals 6 in the other table, then if those two match exactly, then I want it to bring over the email. So I hit enter, and then there we go. So then I'm just going to put some absolute values here. I won't get into exactly what that is today. This just makes the formula work. Just putting in some dollar signs. Um, so we have all that now. And so now I can just, if you guys remember, when you see this little plus sign here, that tells me that I can drag down and it'll bring all of those over. So it brought over all the names. And now I can come here and do the same thing with the emails. And so there we go. So we were able to enhance this spreadsheet by bringing in information from another spreadsheet to make this one a little bit more complete. So now, again, if you're the owner, you can say, oh, yeah, I know Mary. Mary is this person. But again, this over here may not do anything for you, but this might be what you need to identify like, okay, this person did this person did that. Any questions about the VLookup and why it's useful? It's a little bit more of an advanced technique. It takes some practice. This is something that I use a lot at work because I often have like data from different sources and I'm trying to merge it to create like a better picture of whatever I'm trying to explain to my stakeholder. And so I use a lot of VLOOKUPs to bring over data. So one thing that you do have to do once you do bring it over, notice that as I click in like these cells, that it has a formula up here still. So once I bring it over, what you don't want to do is like if I come back to here and I delete that, see here now it has an error. So one thing that I like to do once I do bring over that data is copy it all. So I'm just going to highlight it and hit copy and then paste it back, but just paste the actual values. So we're not, because otherwise you're going to have those formulas in there. And if you mess with the data a little bit, see now it just says Tim, now it just says Travis. So there again, as you move data around and things, it's not going to, because if you stay related to the formula, it's just not going to work real well. Okay. So that's VLOOKUP. So we've made this spreadsheet. So now we really don't need this one. I could delete it if I wanted to. I could right click it and hit delete. But I'm just going to leave it there. Maybe I'll just turn it black because I don't need it anymore. And we'll leave green tabs as the ones that we're still working on. So let's do a little cleaning up of our data. So cleaning data just means to put it in a format that's easily readable, and it makes the data quality better. So what are some things as you guys are looking at this, what are some things you guys think we can clean up on this spreadsheet? Is there anything? So one of the first things I see is I do like to put these in order. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put them in order just so it's a little bit easier to read. So I'm going to click on customer ID, and we're going to be using this filter and sort button a lot. I'm on the home tab right now in Excel. So if you come here to this sort and filter button, you can do a couple things. So I could sort this column. So again, if I sort this column, it's also going to change. So like where it says one Eric, if I sort this column, it's going to bring one up to the top, but it's also going to bring the corresponding information like Eric, Eric at Gmail. So it's going to bring the whole row up. So let's take a look. So if we sort A to Z or lowest to highest, and again, because our mouse is here, it's going to use this column and it's going to sort it lowest to highest. If I did it here, it would do name in alphabetical order. But right now, we're just going to do customer ID and we're going to sort A to Z. So notice what it did. So it put the customer IDs in order and it also brought the corresponding information for each one of those rows with it. The vice versa, we can also do sort and filter and do Z to A, and now it puts it in reverse chronological order. Okay. What else do we got? Or we can do a custom sort. So like over here, for instance, see we have these customers are in different countries. So maybe we want to put them in order by country and then by name. So we can do two parameters instead of one. So maybe I want all the UK people up top, or maybe I want country in alphabetical order and then name. So let's try it. So if I come up here and do custom sort, now it gives me some options and I can add levels. So let's add a level. So our first level is going to be country. So notice here the titles for each one of the column, customer ID, name, email, they're also here, right? So I'm telling it what I want it to do. So I want it to look at country first. Then I want it to put country in alphabetical order, A to Z. And then I wanted to do it by name in alphabetical order. So did you guys see that? We're giving it two conditions. So let's hit OK. So it puts them in alphabetical order first by country name. So Germany, Spain, and within Spain, now we can see it put Omar and Tim in alphabetical order. For the UK, we have four customers and it put them in order: Anne, Carrie, Mary, and Stephen. And then lastly, for the US, it also put them in order: Ben, Eric, and Travis. So that is a nice feature in Excel that you can use. You can have multiple layers of filtering because it's just nice to, again, clean your data. And it puts it in a nice format that's easy to read. So if someone was looking, they could look at, okay, my customers in the UK are all here together. Let's look at which ones are highest. Oh, okay, this one. And this isn't even sorted by highest. So let's actually do that. So instead of maybe by country and then name, let's do country and then sum of orders. So maybe they want to see their highest customer in each country. So we did country A to Z, but then we're going to do sum of orders, but we're going to do that largest to smallest. So now it again organized Spain as the second one, but it put the customer in Spain that had the highest orders there. And then in the UK, it put the customer with the highest orders at the top. And then for the US, it also put the customer with the most orders. So again, just some custom filtering and sorting that you can do to make the data a little bit easier to digest for whoever you're creating this for. Okay, so let's look at a couple other things we can do. Any questions on the filtering and sorting we just did? We'll do a little bit more on this in a little bit. We'll do the custom filter here, but any questions before we move on? Okay, this is going to be a fun one. So here you can see we have some orders that are in euro. We have orders that are in British pound, and we have orders that are in the US dollar. And so I like to personally also have that added here as a like, instead of, right, because when we do US dollar, like here, right? We know that that's US dollar, right? It's got the dollar sign there. That's our symbol. But what about for GBP and euro? How do we get those signs added in there to make that currency reflect next to the sum of orders? Does anyone remember? We covered this in a previous lesson, but it's been a while. Nothing. Okay. So I'll go ahead and show you guys. So for euro here, you can do one at a time. So you could do like format this one, format this one, format that one. But I like to just say if they're all here together, might as well just go ahead and select all three. And then up here next to the dollar sign. So if we wanted it in dollar sign, we would just hit the dollar sign. But if we wanted it in a different currency, we have to hit this little drop down arrow that's right next to it, right next to the dollar sign, hit the drop down. And you can see you have some options here. We have the US dollar. We have the British pound, euro, the Chinese yen, I believe it's called, and then the CHF, which I guess is French or Switzerland. You have other ones you can do here if you go to more accounting formats. You can also select from here, and you see they have Russian and Bitcoin and Bashkir. I don't even know what that is. Tatar, Cherokee. Let's see what else they got in here. Mohawk. Uh, Latin, Welsh, Japanese, all kinds of things, right? All the different currencies you could ever think of are in here. Okay. And so I'm just going to, because we're only dealing with euro, I'm just going to go ahead and click here and find euro. There you go. So now it added the euro sign in each one of these so we can differentiate that we're not all dealing with USD here. We're dealing with some different currencies. And then lastly, this one is GBP. So these are all British pounds. So with the money that they would use in the UK, right? Or the UK. So let's highlight those. And then we're going to come back here again to the dollar sign. But this time, again, we're going to hit the down arrow. And we're going to go with English, the British pound, which is this one. So now we have all of our currencies formatted correctly so that we can do a proper analyzing and have context. Because as we all know, 10,000 euro versus 10,000 British pounds versus 10,000 USD could be a completely different thing, especially when you're talking about some of the other like currencies. I'm trying to think of one right now. I think it's the Indian rupee. That one's like 100,000 rupees is like something like 100 USD, right? So it's very important to make sure you have context when you're cleaning your data so that we have a good understanding of what we're looking at. Okay. So we've got this data cleaned up a little bit. Now let's do some analyzing of the data. So let's say that someone wanted to see a report and they asked you a question and said, hey, can you show me, do males or females buy more? And you say, yeah, that's a good question. Let me find out for you. So we want to do a pivot table to do that. And in a pivot table, it's going to take all of this data and it's going to assess it for you and aggregate the data and kind of do some averages and things for you. So to start off with a pivot table, you need to first of all highlight just the data that you want it to analyze. And again, the question here is, do females or males, according to this data, spend more at this particular store that we're looking at? So we highlight the data. We can come up here to insert. And then from insert, we can go to pivot table right here. It's going to say, do you want to put it on a new sheet or an existing worksheet? Let's go ahead and do a new sheet. And then it brings up some of this information over here that you guys can see. And let me zoom in a little bit. I'm going to move this tab over and I want to recall it. Male and female sales. Okay. So what do we want to do? So we want to look at sales by, so we want to bring sex down because that's going to tell us what are the two options, right? We have male and female. So we want that to be our row labels because that's going to give us the two options available. And then we want to bring down sum of orders into values. And then just looking at this, who does it look like spends more, males or females?
Nails.
Yeah, males. But we have to put more context on this because if you remember, we're not all looking at the same currency. So we need to bring currency down, and we can do it a couple different ways. We can drop currency under sex here. So we can see like for females, let's see, let's see, they spent most of their money in British pounds, and then euro, and then over here you can see the males looks like they did theirs mostly in euro, and then USD, and then GBP. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. I would probably grab currency and bring it up to here. And then here we can see easier that, let's see, males spent more in euro
Mhm.
and British pounds, females actually spent more. So I'm going to highlight these. And we didn't even have any females buy in the US. We only had males because that's why we have a zero here for USD. And so these are all good numbers. Again, we have our euro, GBP, and USD. If you wanted to, you could again add those currency figures. So let's do that really quick. So I'm just going to highlight here and I'm going to do euro, highlight here and do GBP, highlight here and do USD. Obviously, these numbers don't mean a lot because they're different currency, so you can kind of disregard that part. But you can see the totals that were spent in each country here. So 32,000 or 32,000, yeah, euro, with most of it being males. Any questions on this quick little pivot table? I know I kind of went through it a little bit quick on how to do it, but again, I really just want you guys to understand what it does. So it just summarizes the data. Because if we come back over here, we can add, if we select all of this, we can see down here that the total is 76,763. So if we go back to our pivot table, we should see the same number. Yep, 76,763. And again, these numbers are just raw. They don't have like currency or anything here. But I just wanted to demonstrate that that does add up. So it's just taking these numbers and it's just aggregating it by female and male for you. Okay, let's see. What's the next one we want to do? Next, let's say that someone came to you and said, "Hey, um, can you just show me a report that only has people with Gmail accounts? I'm only concerned with people who have Gmail accounts because we want to send them an email and send them an incentive for using their Gmail accounts, something like that. So really easy. You can just filter to do that. So again, we can go back up here to sort and filter and hit filter this time. So filter, what that's going to do is instead of, so you can still sort, right? So I can still, and it's important that when you do add your filter that you are on the row where you want to add the filter. So if I was here and I came to filter, it did get it, but like I would just be careful about not being too far away. So I'm always want to be on the row where I want to add a filter, and I'll show you what a filter does in a second. So what does a filter do? So when I add this filter, notice that each column now has this little down arrow here. So if I wanted to only see, let's say on this report, males, I could click the filter where it says sex, turn off female, hit OK, and now it is only showing males because we filtered out female. Vice versa, I could do the same thing. Click on females, turn off males. It shows me the females. I can go back to select all. Maybe we only want to see people that live in the United States. I can come here and filter to just US. So notice to add something, I would just add a check mark. to take it away, you just undo that check mark. So if we only wanted to see our customers in the US, here you go. So let's hit all. If you ever have a couple filters and you want to just get back to all the raw data, you can always turn the filter off just to make sure it's showing you everything. And then you can turn it back on if you want to refilter. So again, let's say we only wanted to see the accounts that had a Gmail. So we would add our filter, and then here for email, right here in this box, we can tell it I only want to see anything that has the content Gmail. So I just type it in and notice that it selected all of these that have, Ann at Gmail, Ben at Gmail, Eric, etc. So we hit OK and
Mhm.
it pared it down to only show me the accounts that have a Gmail.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a really nice feature and it's a
Excellent.
really smart feature.
Mhm.
You can even go down to if you know you have a customer that lives on Anthem Street somewhere. You don't even know what like city they live in, but you're like, I have a customer. I know they live on Anthem Street. I need their address. So you can come in here and filter on address one, which would be the first part of your address, and just type in Anthem. And you hit OK, and it's like, oh, here's the customer. They live at 6598 Anthem Street in Liverpool, UK. So again, imagine that you're doing this and you work at a large company, right? If there's 1,000 customers, it would take you forever maybe to find that one customer that lives at Anthem if you had to go through and scroll and try to find that customer at Anthem. But when you use filters, you can easily get through your data and find what you're looking for because it just gets rid of everything else that you aren't really concerned with at that time. Any questions on those filters that I just showed you?
Mhm. You're learning.
Good. I know everybody's quiet today.
You're learning.
Everybody's quiet.
I think the bank use this spreadsheet maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh
Wow.
yeah. Banks use these a lot. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, to be honest with you, every company's using this because every company, even Fred Meyer, right? Who here
Mm-hmm.
shops at Fred Meyer or Safeway?
I,
Or right, like sometimes maybe not all the time, or even Costco,
mm-hmm.
right? When you leave Costco, what do you have to do to check out at Costco? You have to scan your card, right?
Yes. Yes.
Why do you have to do that?
For them to know that I have entered I'm in the store, and then when I go to the cashier, they also ask the same card again. They scan
Yeah,
it.
and when they scan it at the cashier, they're
Mm,
scanning it for a couple reasons, right? Number one, it
mm,
lets them track your purchasing that you did. It's
mm,
tracking your specific purchasing behavior.
mm,
So then they know. Okay, every time that let's say Eric comes in here, he likely is going to buy these products. And then maybe they send me coupons in my email or in the mail for things that I have previously bought because they know that I bought them
mm,
because I scanned my card and then I checked out. And so now
mm,
that is in my order history forever. It's also convenient for me because I don't have to keep my receipts if I need to return something. I could just scan my card and they have a spreadsheet in a database somewhere that says, oh, these are all the orders Eric's ever done. And within each of those orders, it tells them all the items that I bought, how much I paid
mm,
for those items, etc. So it's all in spreadsheets. So all of our data, our orders and everything is all in spreadsheets. Um, and same thing at Safeway and Fred Meyer, right? Every time you put your phone number in, right? It's because they want to track your purchasing so that they get to know you better, right? So they understand your behavior better. Also helps them to predict what type of items they need to buy to continue to stock the store. If they're tracking spending and they say, oh, everybody's starting to buy this bread that we just got is a brand new bread and the sales are up. We need to order more of that because it looks like our customers are coming in and buying it and they like it. And so data is really important in being able to understand the data is really important. So Excel is one of the pivotal tools that you'll use in order to understand data. So yes, banks use it, but supermarkets use it, tech companies use it, car dealerships use it. Everybody's using data
Mm-hmm.
to track and understand their customers. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's do another one. Let's do another pivot table, and see who or what country. Let's see what country spent the most. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the filter. I'm again going to highlight the data right here. We'll go to Insert, Pivot Table, and it brings me to a new sheet right here. I'm going to just bring that over here. I'm going to rename it, and we're going to call this one um, sales by country. Okay. So once again, I'm going to bring down what's our label going to be? Country. That's going to be our rows. So we have 4 countries where we have sales at, and then we want to see how much did we spend in each one of those, or how much in sales did we have in each one of those countries. So then I'm going to bring sum of orders down. And of course, we got to bring currency down in the columns. So here we can see that in Germany, we had sales of 10,000. In Spain, we had 21. In the UK, 25. And in the US, 18. Okay. And so we could see that if, assuming this was all even, GBP, it would look like the UK was the area where we had the most sales. Again, easy to do. You probably could do it manually from this spreadsheet. If you just like, you could also just filter and do, well, actually, let's see, you would have to, oh yeah, you could have it in order here and you could just kind of sum them up. So if I highlight these three, by the way, I want you to notice something that it does. So notice these are US orders. I'm going to just highlight these real quick. So these are the US orders. So a neat thing that Excel does, and it might be really small on your screen, hopefully it's not too small though, is if I highlight these three, it gives me some numbers down here. So let's look at it. It says a count of three. So it's telling me how many rows I highlighted. It also sums it, 18,727. So it's adding up those three cells that I highlighted, and it's saying, hey, just if you're wondering, the total in those three cells, if I add it all up, is 18,727. Then it gives me the average. Can I do the same thing for the UK? Let's go look. For the UK, if I highlight these two, the sum is 7,386. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a few. Let's go back and fix that. Let's say we put them in gray. So I highlight these. So in the UK, we had 25,000 British pounds. And we could do the same thing here and there. Just go ahead and give them some highlighters. Then Germany's going to get its own color too. Let's get Germany purple. Okay. So now we have this cool spreadsheet and we can see all the sales by country, Germany, Spain, UK, USA. And if we come here to the pivot table, we can see that each country, like how much each spent. Okay, sounds good. So let's say that I had all these colors and I decide, you know what? I don't like all these colors. Let's get rid of all this. I can just highlight all the data again, come up here and just do, let's do no fill. And it gets rid of all that stuff. Okay. I want to turn off our filter. And then the last thing I want to demonstrate, and this is a pretty cool little feature too, is what we call conditional formatting. So in conditional formatting, I can tell it like, and again, imagine that you are looking at a spreadsheet with 1,000 orders or 1,000 customers. It'd be very hard to maybe identify the orders that are, or the customers that had like, over 5,000. Well, let's say over 8,000 in orders. So one thing you can do is you can select a whole entire column by clicking the letter that is at the top of that column. So all the way up top, right? This F, and we can do conditional formatting. So from the Home tab, we have conditional formatting. So I can click that and do highlight cell rules and say, I want it to highlight cells that are greater than a certain amount. So let's say greater than, and I can give it an amount of 8,000. Hit OK. And it highlighted everything that's greater than 10,000. Okay, or 8,000, I'm sorry. So notice that they're all in order though. So let's actually, I'm going to back up a little. Let's reorder this by customer ID. Okay, and then instead of this one, because we didn't want that one highlighted, let's just highlight the data here, the actual data, hit control condition or conditional formatting, highlight, and if the cell is greater than 8,000, it's going to, let's make it green. Hit OK. And it did conditional formatting, and it's now automatically going to highlight anything over 8,000. So conditional formatting is really cool for that. Let's go ahead and undo that rule. I'm going to hit clear rule. And then let's play with some other stuff. Conditional formatting. Let's do data bars in blue. How do you guys like that one? It kind of shows you a comparative analysis so that you can just really quickly at a glance, you can see like where the bigger purchasers are. Because it gives you like a little bit of a bar chart here. Let's look at some other styles. Here's another one. You can see in green, you have your biggest purchasers, red being your lower purchasers. So maybe if you were looking at sales, like let's say you work at a furniture sales company, and these are all of your employees, this employee would not be doing good. They're in the red. They did not meet their quota, right? Where you have the other ones that are in green or maybe in yellow, they're doing better. Yellow is kind of middle of the road. Orange not doing so good, and then the greener they are, the better they're doing. Does this help a little bit, like to see like just different things that these spreadsheets can do? This conditional
Yes.
formatting is really powerful. Um, let's look at this one here. So this one is showing if it's a up arrow, you can see that it is doing good. Yellow arrow to the right means middle of the road, and the down arrow are the people that are in the bottom of the sales structure because they're not doing very good. So Stephen and Travis and Carrie might be in trouble if these were their sales, right? So
Mhm.
again, just some easy conditional formatting. I'm going to go here and clear the rules again. Let's come back and see what else they got. You can also highlight um, things that, let's say, are between certain numbers. So if they did between 4,000 and 8,000, and then whatever you want it to do, like you want it to turn yellow, hit OK. It'll highlight those that fall in between there. So again, conditional formatting is one of those powerful tools that can be really helpful when you're analyzing data and you're looking for trends. It can do that for you automatically. Really, really helpful.
Mhm.
Are there any questions about anything that I did cover or anything I didn't cover that you guys have? I went through some advanced things today, and yeah, I'm just looking at the different little options here. Look at these ones. These ones have like little, and then they have little bar charts. You have little moons, flags. Let's clear this really quick. Let's see what we got. Yeah, you can use these here, kind of show if they're going down, up, etc. Yep. Any other questions, anybody? Stop my share.